What's good, guys? It's your boy Beats by Ash coming at you with another banger of a video. And today I'm going to be showing you guys an introduction to the new blue leader being released in Set 2, Emporio Ivankov. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys a brief overview of some of the new cards that I'm going to be using in the deck list today, as well as 2 games right after that. If you enjoy this content, make sure to let me know down below what you want to see next and smash that like button. And without further ado, let's get into the goo. Let's take a look at our brand new leader card. If you'd like to skip right to the games, feel free to click on the timestamp down below. Our leader reads, end of your turn, if you have 0 cards in hand, draw 2 cards. This is a mandatory effect and it sounds pretty good, right? At first glance, this card and Doflamingo seem like they promote you for using a very similar playstyle. And what I mean by that is, both of these leaders allow us to aggressively discard counter during our opponent's turn because we're using our leader ability almost every time we can and generating free value. This card seems like it fits very well into the blue archetype and I'm excited to see what we can do. Now let's take a look at some of the new characters. First off, we have Inazuma, a 4-cost 5k attacker which reads, if you have 1 or less cards in your hand, this card gains 2k power with the blocker keyword. Now this card is amazing. At best, this is a 4-cost 7k attacker, and at worst, it meets the current stat line that's been in blue since set 1. Now we have 5-cost Crocodile. Very similar to Virgo in set 1, it's a 5-cost 7k attacker. But this card has the Impel Down keyword, which we'll see is a very powerful effect on our deck archetype. Now, we have the boss of the deck, character Emporio Ivankov. This is a 7-cost 7k attacker, which reads, on play, draw until you have 3 cards in hand, then you may play up to 1 blue Impel Down type character with a cost of 6 or less from your hand. This card is insane. The amount of sheer tempo that you get by just playing this card alone can almost win you the game in some matchups. And there's one card in specific that we're looking to play down. That is the brand new 6-cost blue Monkey D Luffy. This card looks amazing and I can't tell you how great it is. With 7k attack and an on-play / attacking ability that reads, you may trash 2 from hand to return something that costs 4 or less, then this card gains double attack this turn. The fact you can just cheat this out with your 7-cost character Emporio is crazy. That means you're essentially paying 7 Dawn to put out 2 7k attackers and you're bouncing something, and most likely, since you had 3 cards in hand from your Emporio, now you're discarding the other 2 with your Luffy, you're now down to 0, so you're essentially using a faithless looting during the end step by discarding 2 and drawing 2. So I really like this, and I'm just glad that we have a different way to play blue because I think these big attackers are going to allow us to beat over these wall type of decks like people who've been playing 8-cost Kid. And now we finally get our own searcher, Buggy. 1-cost 2k attack, on play, reveal up to 1 blue Impel Down character other than himself, add it to the hand, then place the rest on the bottom of the deck. Very similar to Nami, but I would argue this card is a little bit better in our deck than red decks have it right now, because we also have Perona and 3-cost Doffy, which means we can use those cards to restructure the deck and then play this card, which pretty much guarantees that we're going to have a hit and we're able to look through more cards in our deck than other people can in different colors. Now we have Mr. 2 Bon Clay. He kind of has a weird effect on the field that's not really relevant. It's mostly the fact that it has Impel Down keyword. It's 5 cost for a 5k and it's a 2k counter. When attacking, you can trash something from hand to return a character with 2 or less to the bottom of the deck, similarly to Jinbei, but when you do, this goes to the bottom as well. So not really that good, but maybe if your opponent is trying to protect the castle with the Bonnie, maybe you just get irritated and you remove it. But it's a card we can cheat off of our 7-cost character, so that's fine as well. And then we have Mr. 3, blocker, 4-cost 5k attack. End of your turn, you may trash 1 card from from your hand, set this as active. Now, this is another card we can summon off of our Emporio, but the best thing about this is that effect doesn't have to be activated if our guy is tapped. We can also just use it even if it's untapped, just to discard a card. So if we have one card in hand, we can go to 0 if we'd like to draw 2 off of our leader, which is honestly great. And I'm honestly just loving the fact that we're getting to see all of these Baroque work characters once again, because as a newcomer to the anime, these people are becoming some of my favorite characters. Now we have a new event, Aberrasque Brickfist. Sorry if I mispronounced any of these names, but this card is great. 2 cost, main, return something that's 4 or less to hand, trigger effect, play this, and it's also impelled down, so it can be searched off of our buggy. You will very shortly find out that playing cards from hand doesn't really matter if it loses us advantage, because our leader is just generating us advantage every turn. So the fact that we can do something for 2 that has an impact on the game state and lower our hand count to keep cycling through our deck is honestly way better than it sounds, and I'm so happy we've gotten this. Now finally, we have the brand new stage for blue, New Kamaland, active main, 1 cost, rest this. If your leader is Emporio, draw 1, trash 1, then you may trash up to 3 from your hand. Now, this is crazy because once you have this online, it allows us to rearrange our deck with effects like Perona and Doflamingo. Then we can draw exactly the card we want to draw, or we can just discard up to 3 cards from our hand so we can trigger our leader ability. Since we have so much knowledge with our deck, we almost always know what we're going to be cycling into, and I love this for the deck. Now that's enough for the discussion. Let's get right into the games. Alright guys, in this first match, we're going to be going up against Eustace Captain Kidd, definitely one of the most popular leaders in set 1, and we're going to see how we fare with our set 2 leader, considering green was one of the most difficult matchups in set 1 for blue. So we're going to go ahead and keep this hand because we do open the new Searcher Buggy as well as the 3 cost Doffy, which can then restructure us after we pick one and put the rest on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and add the new Monkey D. Luffy here because it is integral to our combo for a huge tempo swing. Our opponent throws down the Jewelry Bonnie, adding a Trafalgar Law to hand. We go ahead and top deck the Emporio Ivankov, and we're going to go ahead and swing with our buggy on our opponent's Bonnie. We're going to go ahead and attack with our leader before we do anything. Now we're going to go ahead and drop the 3 cost Doffy. We do have the stage, which is a great option to access early before you initiate the combo. That way, if you have extra cards, you can discard them before you use the effect to draw, giving you a potential draw 3. We're going to go ahead and put that on top as well as the buggy. Our opponent's going to go ahead and attack our leader with their leader. I'm going to go ahead and discard a counter here, as you want to lower your hand size before you start the combo. Our opponent's going to go ahead and drop down 2 killers, kind of creating that wall very early on. We're going to go ahead and attack with our leader on our opponent's leader. Our opponent takes the damage, and we're going to go ahead and throw down our stage. And then we're going to go ahead and drop the 4 cost blocker. I think when you have the combo, the new blocker is really strong because you're more than likely going to be attacking for 7k on his 8 cost Kid if he has it. He's going to go ahead and attack our leader for 5. I'm going to go ahead and choose to block here with our 4 cost Doffy because we're probably not going to want to attack with it next turn since we're going to be using all of our Dawn to play our Emporio Ivankov character. Our opponent puts a Dawn under his killer and drops down Law. We're going to go ahead and drop down the Emporio Ivankov character, putting down the Luffy for a huge tempo swing, discarding both cards to return his killer back to hand, giving him no value on that trade, and now our Izanu is going to hit him for 7, which is crazy pressure, exactly what we want to be doing in green. He's going to block with the Law and use the 2k to protect it, and now here we're going to draw 2 during the end step, which is amazing for us. We get the buggy and another Luffy, so we have a potential chance to access the combo once again next turn. Our opponent's going to go ahead and attack our Inazunu with his leader. I'm going to go ahead and let my Inazuma die. Sorry for the mispronunciation. He's going to go ahead and drop down the new 8 cost Kazuki Odin, which is a big threat in this set. I'm going to go ahead and put 2 Dawn under our Luffy, putting him to 9k, threatening his leader with that double attack, which is really strong for us, forcing him to most likely have to block with his Trafalgar Law, or he's going to have to use 3 cards from hand, and he goes ahead and blocks with the Law. We're going to go ahead and attack with our Emporio for another 7. Got to hit those magic numbers. And then we're going to go ahead and attack with 9 with our leader since we increased his hand size, putting him to 1. And we're going to drop down the Doffy. Since we see another copy of Emporio, we're going to go ahead and put this stack on top, as well as a couple of 2Ks that we're going to be able to draw this turn. So now we're getting both of the 2Ks during the end step, potentially being able to protect our life and start the combo up next turn. He's going to drop down a Cat Viper, attacking our Doffy, which was inevitable. He's going to go ahead and use his Odin to attack our Luffy. I'm going to go ahead and let it die as he can untap his Odin. I'm not really stopping anything there. He's going to go ahead and do so, untapping his Odin, attacking our Emporio. We have another one next turn, so it's not that big of a deal, but I decided to use both counters since we're going to discard them anyway, and forcing him to use 2 Dawn on his leader, stopping him from making any other big plays. Now we have 10 Dawn here, and we can use our Emporio once again to draw 3 cards. We're going to go ahead and play an Inazuma from hand, which is pretty good for us because it's probably going to be able to get to 7. I decided to discard 2 here so that I will be at 0 during the end step and will be able to restructure the deck knowing what I'm going to draw. Hopefully we get a couple another 2Ks, and we're going to go ahead and attack his leader for 5. He's going to counter with a killer from hand. We'll drop down the Doffy. We see a Dracul Mihawk, which is great here because at some point he's going to have to play down that Trafalgar Law. I decided to go ahead and put both of the counters on top of our deck. I would rather discard these cards than the other ones on the stack. He's going to go ahead and attack us with his leader. I'm going to go ahead and take the damage there. And he's going to go ahead and tap down our Inazuma, so it doesn't really matter for us to discard all of them to buff him up. He's going to go ahead and kill that. I'm going to let it die. I don't really care for it. And then he's going to drop down the Trafalgar Law, putting us in a great position to use our Mihawk at the right time and then drop down a Beige. I'm going to go ahead and use the Perona here so we can look to start the combo again. And what do you know? It's another Emporio character, which is just amazing for us. If I didn't see that, I was probably going to go ahead and just use the Mihawk on his Law, but the fact that we have Luffy and Emporio on the stack is just too much value, so we kind of have to go with that route. We're going to go ahead and stack our Emporio on top of the deck and then use our stage to draw the Emporio, setting ourselves up to initiate the combo. I decided to only discard 1 card with our stage here. That way, in case we want to discard with our Luffy this turn, we will have 2 cards in hand. Then we're going to go ahead and drop down the Emporio before we do anything. Summoning the Luffy, discarding these 2 cards. I didn't want to cycle into the deck anymore with our Emporio draw effect because I didn't want to have to discard that Mihawk because I know it's going to come up. And we're going to go ahead and bounce his Beige back to hand, force him to use more out of his hand considering that card does not have counter. As you can see, Ivankov is a huge tempo swing, allowing you to pay 7 Dawn to put out 2 7Ks and draw 2, discard 2 most of the time. He's going to go ahead and block our attack with his Law. And during the end step, we're going to go ahead and draw the Crocodile and the Perona, which is really good for us because now we can discard both of these cards if we need to and still be reassured that we're going to get the Mihawk next turn. The Punk Gibson he had last turn didn't really affect us that much considering he was probably going to be able to tap down one of our Doflamingos anyway, and we're at a healthy 4 life. He's going to go ahead and put a Dawn under his Odin and threaten to kill our Ivankov here. I'm going to let it die considering there's no reason to protect anything that he's just going to be able to potentially attack 3 more times. He's going to go ahead and put a Dawn under his Cat Viper here and threaten to kill our Doflamingo. I decided to counter from hand by discarding a card here. It might seem kind of dumb, but my reason behind it is that I'm going to divert 1 attack from him from our health total, which is ultimately going to allow us to better control the game. He goes ahead and kills the Doflamingo. He goes ahead and restands his Odin and then attacks us once again for 9. I decided to take the damage here since we're so healthy and we might want to use our Doflamingo next turn for an additional attack, but he does have the triple blocker, which is insane for him. We're going to go ahead and drop down the Mihawk Poise, putting his Law to the bottom of the deck. Man, this is a huge tempo swing for us. And now our Luffy can potentially clear his killer, denying him a card. He's low on cards in hand, and we're inevitably going to be able to get through on his health total, most likely before he gets us down too low into the danger zone. And we are threatening him with a double attack, so he has to block here. We're going to go ahead and put our last Dawn on our leader since we don't really have anything else to do with it, and I kind of want to keep our Doflamingo blocker up here. He ends up discarding another 2k, and we're going to re-attack him for 7 once again. If he ends up killing both of our top characters, I don't really care. Since he's at 1 and low cards, I think we probably got this wrapped up. And we do have the Brickfest here, which is an amazing card, allowing us to get rid of blockers for only 2 Dawn, which, when you think about it, is honestly insane. I definitely underlooked it in the beginning, but after realizing that you can just aggressively play your hand out without having to worry about advantage, you just think about how much of a resource that card is and how much of an impact it has. Our opponent's going to go ahead and use his Odin to attack our Luffy. We're going to go ahead and let it go through. Like I said, we don't really care about what happens to those because our leader is just generating us so much free value that we're always on the offensive here. He's going to go ahead and redeclare once again. I'm going to go ahead and let him kill that one too. He's going to go ahead and attack us with 7. We don't really care about our life total at this point. So we're going to go ahead and take the damage here. And he drops down the killer that we bounce back to hand. But since we have the Brickfest, we are most likely going to have lethal here. It's such an amazing card in this matchup. Now we've got 3 attacks, and we can potentially make Doflamingo 8 and our leader 9. So 8, 9, 9 is probably just going to wrap it up right here. And our opponent's going to go ahead and go down to 0. And that's it. He's going to go ahead and quit out, wrapping this one up. All right, guys, in this matchup, we're going to be going up against Smoker, another good leader in set 2. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan this hand to look for a Perona and or Buggy. This hand seems to be a little bit stronger here. We're going to go ahead and drop down our Perona. I decided to put Buggy on top of the deck for next turn. That way we can use Buggy to search and then use Doflamingo to restructure the deck with a new set of cards that haven't been seen yet. Opponent's going to go ahead and drop down a blocker here and attack us for 7 on 5. I'm going to discard 2 cards from my hand to counter that attack. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the Buggy. I decided to add Mr. 2 to hand because he has a 2k counter and it's a card we can discard. And then we're going to go ahead and attack with our leader. I'm going to go ahead and drop down the Doflamingo, looking at a new set of 5 cards here. I decided to go ahead and put the event on top of our deck since we won't be able to combo for 2 turns, and we might as well try to slow down our opponent since he usually plays out on curve. Our opponent's going to go ahead and drop the Kobe. That's going to kill our Doflamingo, and now he's going to attack us for 7 once again. Have to go ahead and take the damage here. I decided to go ahead and use the event, bouncing Kobe back to hand since our Luffy can return his blocker next turn if he still has one. Our leader's going to go ahead and attack once again. I decided to drop down the Mr. 3 here and not use the effect to efficiently use up all of our Dawn. Our opponent is going to drop down the Sakazuki, a really strong card, killing our blocker, and then attacking for 7 once again. We draw another Luffy, doesn't really help us here right now, and then we get a Doflamingo. Decided to put 1 Dawn on my leader and attack him because we are going to use the rest to play our combo. He's going to use his blocker. We're going to play the Luffy from hand, and since there's not a target, we will not use the effect. Our opponent drops down 2 blockers here and is going to attack with Sakazuki. I decided to counter with both cards in hand since we're going to play Dracul Mihawk next turn. Our opponent ends up hitting us 1 more time, allowing us to draw the stage, which is really good for us. I'm going to go ahead and put 1 Dawn on our leader just because I'm probably not going to play the stage here. I would rather discard it on one of his blockers for our Luffy that's already on field. Now I'm going to attack for 7, threatening him with the double attack, discarding both of our cards that are not Mihawk, allowing us to remove one of his blockers. He's going to block with the remaining blocker, and then we're going to attack with our Ivankov for 7. Our opponent drops an Impact Wave, which is honestly one of the best events I have seen so far in this game. Now we're going to go ahead and drop down the Mihawk, entering his last character on board and giving us a huge tempo swing. During the end step, we will once again draw both of our combo pieces, setting us up for an insane kill next turn. Our opponent will drop down another blocker, pumping up his leader and attacking once again. We're going to go ahead and take it. Our life doesn't really matter at this point because he doesn't have anything with rush. He's going to drop down a smoker, and man, that artwork is dope. Here, I was really thinking about using our Ivankov character ability to resolve the combo one more time, but ultimately, since we're so low life and he does have that smoker on board, I really just wanted to go for lethal and try to bump up our Luffy so that the double attack would go through. I decided to put 3 Dawn under my Luffy. That way, if our opponent does have an event, he will have to use a minimum of 2 cards on this attack. Gonna go ahead and discard both of our combo pieces because it's all or nothing right now. Our opponent ends up having a second impact wave, removing our buggy and discarding the blocker, and ends up taking both damage. Doesn't look like he has enough counter, and that's most likely going to be game. I end up putting 4 more Dawn on my leader, attacking him for 9, requiring him to use 3 cards minimum here, and we have a total of 3 attacks left, all hitting for 9, 1 for 10. He goes to 0 life, and my opponent says GG, and that's going to be all for today, guys. Thank you so much for reaching this far in the video, and don't forget to smash the like button. As always, if it's not the goo, it's got to go. Peace.
Ooh, is that indigo?